Okay. Okay, everyone. I think we've got a live broadcasting button. Hello, I'm Kelsey here from Be a Better Guide. I'm just going to check the chat. I see we've got some folks coming in. I've seen Della in there. Hi, Della. Welcome. Welcome. I'm going to introduce Matt Newton more officially in a second, but I'll invite him. He's sitting there at the computer. So, hey, Matt, how you doing?
Absolutely excellent. How are you, Kelsey?
Very good, very good. It's good to be here. Thank you so much for taking the time. Just one moment here. I gotta mute something. I hate when you hear yourself when you're trying to talk.
Oh yeah,
I always lose that game.
Yeah.
And to all the replay viewers, thank you potentially for tuning in for this replay. For the folks who are here live, I see Travel with Red in the chat comments there. Good to see you again. Marine Brewbus, welcome, welcome. Feel free to type in the chat where you're tuning in from. And Brenda and Nancy are here. Awesome, good to see you guys.
Great to see you, Brenda and Nancy.
Awesome.
And I should say, Kelsey, where are you right now?
I'm very fortunate to be tuning in from the Bahamas. We just arrived, so many folks who are here today probably know that I'm getting married in a couple weeks, and we're going to do it just our two families here in the Bahamas. So we just flew in, and we've got this spot that's very lovely on the beach. It's just amazing to be down here. So we are just going to get things ready for the wedding, and so this is kind of the last few days of work, and then I have to go and start writing vows and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, we see Jared from Rainy Day Charters. We've got some from Ketchikan, Alaska. Martine from La Bicicleta Verde, very close to you, Matt.
Yeah.
Just down the hall, maybe.
She's I think Martine would be about 5 kilometers away. Welcome once again, Martine, to the to another webinar. James is from Devon, UK. Thank
James,
you.
good to see you.
We have Not Just a Tourist from sunny Seville.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we're expecting lots of people to sort of tune in and hopefully stay as long as you can. I'm going to turn things over to Matt, so you don't actually have to listen to me talk for that much longer, which is awesome. So I'll just do kind of an official invite here to Matt, and then I'll let him take over more completely. So if you don't know him, he's the CEO and founder of Tourism Tiger, and his company is an industry-leading sort of tour company website designer. So he and his team spend all day sort of designing, optimizing, tweaking tour and activity operator websites. So that's sort of their full-time job. He's also written the book Sell More Tours, which some of you may have looked into. You can get it on Amazon and digital forms, or obviously purchasing the book. He's been featured all over the web, BBC, Wired, US Today, and all the major Australian outlets. As you may have heard, Matt is Australian, but presently working and operating out of Chile. So, gosh, he's got this fantastic workshop set up. I've got my notepad here. I didn't mention that to you, Matt, but anytime Matt does a workshop, I always learn something. So I'm ready with some notes. I hope you guys are. I'll flip this over to you, Matt, and you just take it and run with it.
All right, so thank you very much, Kelsey, for that kind welcome. Very, very much a pleasure to be with everyone today. And obviously, Kelsey is a respected colleague of ours around the internet. He talks about how he may take notes from our webinar. Well, I know that I've been on a few of his online workshops, and his online workshops are incredible. Obviously, we have a lot of Kelsey's audience with us today, but if you are not familiar with Kelsey's stuff, definitely check out beabetterguide.com. Okay, I'm just going to hide this little warning message over here. All right, so let's look at it. So today's topic is 7 tips to dominate the internet. Specifically, we're going to be looking about how to get more eyeballs on your tour products. And obviously a bit of an intro, as you all now know from Kelsey. I'm the founder of Tourism Tiger. I'm the author of Sell More Tours, and I have good news for you, actually. If you hang around to the end of this presentation, we're going to be putting up a link to download the entire book for free. It's on Amazon for, I think, $15 at the moment, but you can get it for free, and all you have to do is hang around to the end. So just a few housekeeping notes. please don't close down other windows in order to make sure that you get the most value out of this presentation. Obviously, a bit of work has gone into this, and I'm sharing not just the work of the few hours of setting up this presentation, but lessons I've learned over the course of years of working with tourism and hospitality businesses, and the tricks that I've learned from being a marketing professional for a while. So a lot of this isn't that complicated, but it does need focus. So grab a notepad. And one thing as well, if you're finding the video to be a bit blurry, make sure you just hover over the video, and on the bottom right-hand corner of the video, you're going to see a gear icon. It looks like a cog or a gear. If you just click on that, you're going to be able to change the quality of the video, and I will answer questions at the end. And I believe there's a car alarm going off just outside. I'm hoping it's not overly distracting. I think I think maybe someone doesn't like me out there or something like that. But we'll work through it. But yeah. So we're going to be talking about not your website today. We do websites for tourism businesses, but we're going to be talking about eyeballs. And so you see, having a website is just step one. You need to also be found by people looking for your kind of experience. So I had a call yesterday with someone from Australia, and he runs a tour business, and he's had just literally one booking in the last year. And he's like, well, is my website the problem? And the reality is that having a great website is just one part of a successful tourism campaign. You're going to have many other things set up as well. Obviously, you have to have an attractive product, but you also have to be found, and not just found by anyone, found by people looking specifically for your kind of experience. So there's two ways to go about this. Either they can come to you by coming to your website, or you can go to them. So that's the concept of fishing where the fish are. You can put yourself in the position of your visitor, go to where they're going, put yourself in their flow in terms of the way they're navigating, and they can find you in that way. So the good news is this: your competition is slow. The tips I'm going to share today require less than 1 week of full-time work. Yet basically no one goes to that level of effort. I've shared the information I'm going to share with you liberally with many people. A lot of it is in my book as well, but you're going to find that a lot of people don't go through with it because they just never sit down and take the time to do it. We're lucky to be in a space where people honestly, many cases don't take the time, and the people who do take the time are the ones that generally end up being successful. So let's dive into the tips. The first tip is you need to list your business with local tour startups. So remember how I was talking about this concept of not just focusing on your website, but also trying to focus on making sure your tours are listed where other people are looking. There are a lot of local tour startups around nowadays. And what do I mean by this? There's a lot of websites starting up, and you've probably been contacted by at least a couple of them, such as Viator, Get Your Guide, Tours by Locals, Excursiopedia, Guide Advisor, Cities, Peak, Zozy, and more. They list experiences on their website where people can go book. Now, why is that attractive? Well, beyond the obvious, this is a screenshot from a search that I ran in Chicago, just for Chicago day tours. And what you'll see right here are ads. And you're going to see your Viator there in number 2. You're going to see adrenaline365.com up at the top right, Travelocity, smartdestinations.com further down. And what you're seeing here is people literally bidding on ads, right? Obviously, they're bidding on ads to sell tours, also obvious, but they're not selling their own tours, which means a company like Viator is taking the risk to spend the money on buying advertising to sell your tour. So it's actually fairly risk-free. Obviously, they're going to take a commission, but they kind of deserve it almost in a way because they've taken the risk. So what I totally recommend doing is running searches in your area, see who is advertising, and see if you can piggyback off of the back, if that even makes sense, of their advertising. So you may not have the resources to use AdWords. We'll find out who is using AdWords and make sure that those visitors come to you. Tip 2. And just before I actually move on to tip 2, we're actually publishing next week or two a huge list of not just where are we? Not just Viator, Get Your Guide, Tours by Locals. We are publishing a gigantic list of many ones that are more local as well. And honestly, I feel like if you just follow this strategy, many businesses will generate the majority of their bookings from this. I know a guy who literally generates something like 60% of his bookings from Tours by Locals. Now, obviously, it's risky if 60% of your business comes from any one booking source that you do not control. But at the same time, it is a great idea to pick up dribbles of bookings from all over the place. And this is how you kind of help make your business a bit more robust. All right, so the next one is use Google to find websites offering experiences in your area. List yourselves on those websites. So this is kind of a bit of an evolution of what I just talked about, right? So we're going to offer that list of tour startups, but also it's not just tour-based startups that have information about experiences in your area. So I Googled Chicago walking tour, I believe it was. And this image here shows a result that came up on page 2 from besttours.com. So besttours.com, I hadn't even heard of them before today, but obviously they've done a fair amount of SEO work because otherwise they wouldn't be at page number 2. Obviously, they're not going to get a huge amount of bookings through this link, but once again, it's this concept of having a tree with many, many roots, and each root drags up a little bit of water, right? So to carry that probably terrible metaphor over to tours, well, you want to have the roots dragging up as many sales from as many different sources as possible. And here's a perfect example. So obviously, Chicago Ghost Walk has gotten themselves listed on besttours.com, and every sale is a bonus. Let's look at a couple more examples. So from that search, there we saw it again, adrenaline365.com. And 2 more that came up were choosechicago.com, which is a local website about Chicago with tour listings, and then yelp.com. So these are perfect examples of other websites where you can list your own tour business. It costs you literally nothing in pretty much all of the cases. In some of the cases, you'll have to pay commission, but there's no risk to doing this. The only risk is your time. You might waste an hour. But really, given the potential gains that you can get from 1 hour of your time, and reality is it's more like going to be 20 minutes for each company you list with, the potential gains from that tiny investment are huge. Which leads me to tip 3. You don't want to list your business, obviously, on tour startups or local directories or anything like that. You want to make sure your business is listed on Google by My Business. And I know that most people have this done, but a lot of people don't. So Google My Business listings are those that show up when you search for local tours and you see a result that's a bit like this. So this screenshot that I'm showing you right now is something I took earlier today. I Googled Chicago walking tour, I believe, and you see these 2 results come up here. Those results are coming up because they have a Google My Business listing. Now, there's one thing to have a Google My Business listing. The other thing is to make sure it's optimized correctly. You may notice that the 2 businesses listed there have Chicago walking tours as part of the name of their business, and this helps. So firstly, make sure once you sign up, you fill in all of your details. Now, remember when I talked about at the very start of this presentation, I talked about your competitors are slow. And what I mean by that is that sometimes they're a bit slow to make sure they've done everything correctly. So all you have to do in many cases is just tick all of the boxes, and that will get you ahead of the majority of the pack. Step 2, upload loads of photos. Step 3, get a trickle of reviews. Now, you don't want to flood Google with reviews because they tend to shut down suspicious accounts. There's a bit of it's said between SEO professionals that you need at least 5 reviews in order for Google to start really taking your listing seriously. Pick the right categories that are relevant to your business. Don't leave fake reviews. Whatever you do, do not log in from your own computer and leave a fake review. Please, just don't. Google is a lot smarter than you think they might be. They have so much data. They know which computers you've logged in the past. And it's not just like in the last week. I'm talking about past years, right? So don't play games with this kind of stuff. last thing as well, use keywords in your listing, but don't go overboard with this as well, because this is a common mistake, which is known as over optimization, which is basically where on your website or your Google My Business profile, where you jam your profile with too many keywords, and a keyword being, say, Chicago walking tours as opposed to your business name. And so you're looking to go for that balance. Make sure your description hits upon your keywords, but only a touch, and that will work for you. All right, so tip 4, and this is an evolution of the previous tips. List your business on local experience and deal sites. And I know a few of you right now are sitting in horror. Every time the word Groupon comes up, a lot of people freak out. Well, some people do 80% of their business through Groupon. And like I said, I don't recommend that kind of practice, because you never want 80% of your business to come from one traffic source which you do not control. But they can be a great way to test your product and build momentum in your business. Yes, they will send you low quality guests. Yes, these guests will not tip much. Yes, they may ask a lot of annoying questions before the tour. But at the same time, if you prepare in the correct way, a Groupon visitor can be very valuable. Obviously, this depends on the kind of business you have. If you have a more premium kind of business, then maybe a Groupon customer will never be the right choice. Maybe you'll have to offer a sort of discount that you'll never be able to make a profit on, because we do need to take into account that Groupon visitors do typically not send referrals. However, having said all of those caveats, I know a business that is located in Florida. They offer expensive plane trips, and what they do is they do plane trips over various islands near Miami. And as you can imagine, they're not cheap. Yet 80% of their business, at least, not just comes from Groupon, but what they've done is they've basically Googled every single local experience website you can possibly find, and are listed on all of them. And they've told me that pretty much all of their business comes from it. And I was like, but are you happy with this? And he's like, yep, absolutely. So it depends on the business, like I said, but it can be something that's worth considering. So tip 5 is based on the previous one, which is Google your competitor's business name, phone number, address, and more. And by more, I really should have just put web address. So why would you do this? So for example, that previous company that I was talking about, the plane company, let's just say you're starting a plane company yourself in Miami. What should you really be doing? You should be finding people in your space that have existing businesses and Googling their business name, Googling their details to find what they have been doing, what has been successful for them, how are they trying to sell their tours. And here's the thing, they cannot hide this information because Google knows everything. And you can know all of those things if you know exactly what to Google. And the best place to start literally is to find the top 10 people in Google and Google their business name. Now, in many cases, they'll have listings around the internet that don't allow them to list their business name, but do allow them to list their phone number. So Google their phone number, Google their address, and like I said, once again, Google their web address. You will discover the strategies they are using in order to get traffic and also sales. Now, this is one thing people get very lazy on. When I tell people to do this, they're kind of like, okay, yeah, I might do that at some point. But this is, like, if I was going to start a tour business, these 7 tips are the first 7 things that I would do if I was starting a tour business, obviously besides building an amazing website and getting amazing photos, which I'll also touch upon. But doing this kind of stuff is like getting an MBA in marketing, because what you're going to find as you Google your competitors is that they all have different marketing strategies. It's extremely common for me to Google the top 5 competitors. Every single one of those 5 has a completely different marketing strategy they're using online. So some of them are using your Groupons, and other ones are all over your Viators, and so on and so forth. But if you take a little bit of each person's strategy and you test each one, you can figure out which one works best for you. Don't try to do this all on your own. Don't try to guess your way through this. You have people who have gone ahead of you, and they've tried to figure that, and these people have tried to figure it out for themselves. Why don't you just piggyback off their work? Why don't you take advantage of the work they've already gone through and test their strategies rather than trying to discover this 18 months, 2 years, 3 years down the track? And here's the thing. You might say to me, well, Matt, I'm from a small town. Everyone uses pretty basic strategies. Well, go to a local city in your area, the capital of your state, or the most popular tourism city within, say, 500 miles of where you are, and go and find the most popular and successful tourism businesses there in terms of Google listings and so on and so forth, and Google their business names, phone numbers, address, and so on and so forth. If I was to start a tour business, I would literally spend days and days and days doing this, because this would be literally the best investment of your time that I think you could ever make. So here is an example. So I was on Groupon.com on Chicago. I have a bit of a Chicago fixation today. And what's happening there is that they have various tour businesses listed, right? So obviously if someone has their own tour business, sorry, someone's playing with the door of where I'm at, of the office that I have rented out. So I hope those background noises don't get in the way. But so if you look at Groupon.com and you go look at tour businesses there, obviously those tour businesses are testing certain strategies. Maybe they're going to be using the same strategy that I'm talking about. So obviously you should be Googling the business name of these particular businesses to see what else they're testing. And if you run a Google search, for example, for the Cupcake Tour of Chicago, what you're going to discover is this business is literally all over the internet. I have taken a screenshot of the first few results in Google, but you can go to page 1, 2, 3, 4. These guys have done literally, it's kind of like they've seen this webinar before, or they've read my book before or something, because they've literally nailed the strategy to a T. They have listed themselves on besttours.com, Groupon.com, TripAdvisor, Yelp, Living Social. That Chicago website that I talked about, Choose Chicago, they're on that as well. You can go from page to page to page, and they're on every single one. These guys have a great example of someone who successfully implemented this strategy. And you can see that it actually has been worth something to them. They have 29 votes on besttours.com. And once again, please forgive the door opening sounds that have been happening in the background. But you can just see that they've got 86% on 29 votes. So if they have 29 votes, that means they've probably made 290 sales. If we're going to guess that 10% of people have left reviews, they have 237 votes on Groupon. They have 23 reviews on TripAdvisor. They've got reviews on Yelp. So this is all a sign that they're actually having relative success. And not only that, that they've continued with the strategy. So there's just one example, but I would totally recommend, once you've found your Viators and your besttours.coms, those kind of companies in your area, find the businesses that are listed there, Google them, and see what they've been doing. List yourself in the same places. So there are two benefits to doing this. One of them is Google My Business. So basically, when I talked about Google My Business and I showed you that screenshot of the search results and how you could see that businesses with the Google My Business listing show up first, and you have those 5-star reviews and all that kind of stuff you can see. Well, Google determines your rankings for that based on your presence, not just in terms of the links you have, but also the mentions you have. So every website that even just mentions your business name in combination with either your phone number and your address, that actually is almost like having a link and actually benefits your rankings in Google My Business and just around the general internet. And obviously the second benefit is you'll benefit from the traffic that these websites receive. So taking the example from Chicago, once again, when I Google Chicago walking tours, I might see a company that I might see besttours.com is at 15th. That particular listing on Google might not get much traffic, but at the same time, it's a sign that Best Tours is in the space, and they're probably getting a lot of tour traffic for other listings they have, maybe for some AdWords traffic, AdWords money they're spending. So get yourself in front of that fire hose. You don't have to, and this is the whole message of today, you don't have to create your own fire hose. You can get yourself in the middle of other ones. All right, so tip 6 to sort of steer away from that get listed on every single website in the internet theme. Tip 6 is respond to all TripAdvisor reviews. So it's a fact that accommodation businesses that respond to at least 50% of reviews are 24% more likely to get a booking. Don't you think the same thing applies to tours? So could it be the case that you don't even need to increase your TripAdvisor ranking to increase the amount of visits you get from TripAdvisor by 24%? It looks like it is. So think about it. Why are people reading those responses? If you're reading a response, why are you doing it? You're obviously curious about something. And the last thing you want to do is bore people. So respond straight away, because obviously people are only looking mostly at the recent reviews. If you're responding once every 2 weeks, you're kind of losing an opportunity there. And the other thing is show personality and warmth. This way you show your business becomes a friend of your guests. If I travel to Rome tomorrow and I go on a tour, there's a good chance that the tour guide I have in Rome is going to be my only opportunity to meet an Italian and sort of enjoy meeting someone who understands the local area. Don't forget that when someone visits your area, you're probably the only person that they will meet. And someone's looking for that sense of personal connection and warmth when they're reading through TripAdvisor in terms of the reviews and the responses. So I'm going to show you an amazing response from a company called Ventigo SF. They're a company in San Francisco, and they are incredible. I would definitely recommend Googling them, analyzing what they've been doing in terms of Yelp, in terms of TripAdvisor, in terms of their web presence, and also in terms of their value proposition, because these guys are an excellent business. And here's what their response was to a review. I felt like a part of the family right off the bat. Your parents were a hoot and made it easy to show SF off. I hope you liked dinner and had a great rest of your trip. So this is not a generic, dear sir, thank you very much for coming on one of our tours. On behalf of the entire team at Ventigo SF, it was a pleasure to have you. We offer excellent tours of the San Francisco area that we work very hard to develop and make sure always that our guests have a great time. Who wants to read that? Who believes that? Who's not going to be completely sort of zoned out by this? I'm not going to say someone's going to get turned off by a tour, by that kind of response. But at the same time, what a golden opportunity. Sorry. What a golden opportunity lost. I'm just going to have a bit of a sip of the water here before I get too carried away. So, and that leads me to my next point. I did hint at it before, which is tip 7, upload great photos to all of your profiles. So you've spent all this time, you've created listings all over the place. You don't have a listing on just to have a listing on TripAdvisor anymore. You're with Google My Business, you're with Yelp, you're with 20, 30 other websites. How are you going to stand out with so many listings on these other websites? Well, you're going to need to make sure you have excellent photos. The difference between just any photo and a great photo is immense. It's crazy. Way before I worked in tourism, I have actually a background in real estate. I used to sell houses, and our company, we made an upgrade in terms of the way we took photos of people's houses, and we always made sure we used a certain photographer, and we made him come at dusk. And that change had a massive increase in the amount of people just coming to check out the house. And I've carried that knowledge into tourism as well. Booking.com's tests have shown that better photography works. Airbnb.com is a business that allows people to rent out their houses to people through their site for multiple nights, one night, a month, whatever. It's kind of like a replacement for a hotel. Their business was struggling until they sent professional photographers, because they stopped trusting the people to take photos of their own places. They sent professional photographers, and their business exploded just because of that. Now, obviously, those are accommodation-related examples, but tours are the same kind of thing. Great photos that show the experience in all its glory can really help. And photographers are not that expensive. Think about it. You can use photos for a long time. Let's just say you get 7 years of life out of photos and it costs you $700 for the photographer. That means you've spent on average $100 per year on your photos. $100? How much does it cost for someone to book one tour with you? That photo session is going to pay itself off in no time at all. So here is an example of 2 photos of exactly the same place. It's Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia. So on the left, and I don't think I've seen a photo this bad on a tour website, but I have seen pretty close. Using a grey, dreary day is such a bad way to show an area. So on the right-hand side, we're not showing an empty beach because obviously, if anyone knows anything about Bondi Beach in Sydney, if you show a photo of an empty beach, that photo was taken at about 5 a.m. But it's a beautiful photo. It's not even that amazing, but it really is that much better. So think a lot about the quality of the photos you're showing for your tour products. So that's it for my 7 tips. It's funny, I got through all of that in about 20, 30 minutes, but I've given you literally a lot of work, but at least at the same time, you know this is going to be work that gives you a great return on investment. So just before we get to the Q&A, would you like a website that never goes out of date? So you can see a pipe right there. It's made out of wood, actually. And you can see it's got a lot of leaks springing all over the place. And that probably describes your website right now. Because if your website has been built in 2010, 2011, 2012, your web designer has gone and learned a whole bunch of stuff and hasn't even come back to come and fix your website, which means there's a lot of opportunities to get more sales that your website is missing out on. So rather than building a new website and just allowing it to go old, we decided to do something different. Tourism Tiger builds websites for businesses, and we keep them maintained over time. We update them for technology. Every time we learn something, we go back and we fix your website. So your website never needs to be updated. You never need to drop that $5,000 ever again, and we don't even cost $5,000. We don't have that boom or bust cycle that everyone else has. If you have a website have you ever had the experience of having to update your website for mobile? You'll understand what I'm talking about. Technology's come along and changed the game. Anyone with us during that time, we would have updated their website for mobile. Luckily, that didn't have to happen because we were already ready, because obviously we got launched after that big change happened. But we're going to be ready for the next change, and the next change after that. Is your website ready for the next change? Thank you. So if you want to get in touch with me, just get in touch at matthew@tourismtiger.com. I mentioned a free gift. So if you go to tourismtiger.com/workshop2, that's the URL that's in the presentation. If you go to that URL, you will see that there's a link to book a call with me or with Nick, who's another member of our team. And also, you'll see there's a download button as well for that PDF of the book. I hope you enjoy it. And now we'll be turning to questions. Cool. So there's a bit of a delay actually with Google Hangout, so I'll just wait to see if anyone has any questions. All right. Time Travel Tours says, is WordPress good for mobile adaptation? And yeah, well, WordPress is great for mobile. We use WordPress. All of our websites are built on top of WordPress because we have a central, basically, website builder system that we've built on top of WordPress. At the same time, WordPress is just a tool. It depends on how you use it. And it is very difficult to update to mobile, just like anything else is. If you have a WordPress website right now, probably the best way to update it to mobile is to replace it with either another WordPress theme, or we'll help you out. So Kelsey says, awesome, Matt. Let's get some questions in here. And Time Travel Tour says, if I edit the website on the computer, well, basically, you probably, in most cases, unless you have the capability of designing your own website, it's best to use a professional. Obviously, there was a bit of a comment about raining above, and I saw that. That was pretty funny. So someone says, how do I feel about the other review sites? Should I spend time responding to every review on those as well? And yeah, well, basically, you need to determine what are the important websites in your area and make sure you keep the profiles current on those websites, and just ensure that you never let them get out of date, and you never let these, especially the popular ones, look alone. Because if you just never respond to reviews, they do look alone. And one thing I didn't touch about responding to all reviews is that it has been shown, a study has shown this, that if you respond to all reviews, you're less likely to get negative reviews. And the reason is this: I'm way more likely, and human beings anyway, are way more likely to say something negative behind your back than to your face. And if you're responding to reviews, they can see that you're reading those reviews. So people are less likely to have a shot at you online. So what's next? Hey, Matt, do you know anything about Expedia selling tours these days? Well, it's interesting about Expedia. I Googled something to do with Chicago tours, as I think everyone knows. And I did find them selling tours. It's funny, Andrea, who works with our marketing, knows a bit more about it than us. So we're probably going to list it on our huge list of tour websites where you can list your tour. At the same time, I don't think it's something they've put much emphasis on. But who knows? If you can list there, I think it's totally worth doing so. Time Travel Tour says, I have no WP site right now. Do you have a website? And Anon, yes, it was a great question. It seems like I've been able to answer the questions in a pretty easy way. I guess it goes to show that we went into a lot of detail and didn't leave a huge amount off. Let's just see if there's any more. Is there any mated? Wait, there's two now. If I haven't been responding to reviews before, should I go back and respond to them now? Some of them are over a year old. So that's a good question, and I think it comes back to what I was saying before. What reviews are people actually going to be reading? They're going to be reading the most recent ones, right? So I think if you just go back to the last, say, 10 or 15, that's totally fine. Is there any Anon 5331 says, is there any automated service to send post-tour emails to clients to get reviews on Google or TripAdvisor? Actually, most booking software companies allow you to do this. They'll allow you to schedule automated follow-up emails. And this is something that Kelsey covered in his last webinar as well, is that you can send them an email saying, hey, did you have a great experience that was worthy of 5 stars? And if they click yes, then obviously what you want them to do is go leave a review. If they click no, they get taken to a feedback form, and away it goes. So Time Travel Tour says, of course. Well, basically, in terms of your website, if it's not adapted for mobile, it must be. If it's not, like, over 50% of Google searches right now are run through mobile devices, and that is around the world. And that was as of January this year. So given that it's rising so much, and if you don't have a mobile website, you might as well not even have. Well, it's almost a bit extreme to say you might as well not have a website, but at the same time, you're literally burning money. All right, so cool. So I'm in the middle of a chat, so I won't be able to check the website out. But yeah, so obviously being on mobile is crucial. But let's come back to the point I was talking about before. Let's just say you build a website tomorrow and you get up to speed with the design trends and the knowledge of web designers and the technology of December 2006 to December 2015. That doesn't help you much in March 2016 or March 2018, especially when the game's changed so much that you either have to make the decision to accept that you're getting 5%, 7% less sales than you were per visitor, or you have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars getting a new website. I think it's just not a satisfactory choice to have to make. And that is why we decided to start Tourism Tiger, so no one ever has to make that choice again. All right, Anon3173 says, do you think it's better to list on global or local OTAs? And my answer to that is, wherever the fish are, go fishing. So Kelsey says, what are the 3 biggest mistakes you see with tour websites out there? Well, the first one, Kelsey, is the mobile issue. It is such a big mistake. The second one is that you just forget there's competition out there. You need to sell people on every point. So you need to show credibility. You need to have great content is basically what I'm trying to say here. By having great photos, by having video, having great descriptions, having showing how many visitors have been on your tours and all that kind of stuff. And the third one is just the quality of the build. So you may have great content, but if it's hidden, if you're using tiny photos, for example, you don't get the wow factor. Because for photos to really wow people, they need to be big and bright and bold. The videos need to be right there. The website needs to load fast. So I've given a kind of a broad overview there. So, but mobile, having poor content and not showing the content well are probably the 3. Okay, so our friend from Time Travel Tours says, I have one, but it is not very nice. So, some people, a lot of businesses, it's okay for them to have a bad website because they don't get any of their business from the website. If your website is meant to be important to your business, then you should have a great one. It should be mobile, it should be updated, all that sort of stuff. But some people, on the other hand, they get $10,000, $5,000 in revenue annually because it's just a hobby for them. At the same time, obviously, investing into a website is you have to make a decision. Are you going to go full time with this and really go big, or are you just going to stay at $5,000 to $10,000? Occasionally, I have people coming to me looking for a website, and I touched upon this earlier, which is if you have one sale through your website in the last year, the problem is probably not your website. Because we could build you a new website, and we may increase your sales by a percentage, but we're not going to increase it from 1 sale to 500. If you're only getting 1 sale, you should be looking at some of the strategies that I've been talking about earlier in terms of developing traffic to your website. And on 0345 says, what is the price of booking software companies? So it ranges from $20 to the sky is the limit, but typically it's between $20 and $150 a month. There's many. So $20 is at adventurebucketlist.com. Then you're looking at Bookeo. You got Zola.com is prominent, XOLA.com, Fairharbor, Peak. We work with we work with a lot of booking software companies, but the key is probably to book a call with us, and we'll help you make sure that you have the right one for your site. All right. What if my last review was half a year ago? Will it be weird if I respond now, or just forget it and wait for my next review to come in? So obviously there's a core problem behind this, which is you're not getting reviews. So you need to make sure that you set up a system to make sure that the people who come with you are reviewing you. If you're not getting anyone coming with you, then obviously that's a bigger problem in and of itself. So I would go back and respond to that review from 6 months ago. But at the same time, my focus would be elsewhere. Responding to that review is probably not going to do a huge amount for your business if you're getting such a low amount of bookings anyway. So you should probably be looking at the other 6 points from the presentation first before you touch upon that one. All right. Kelsey says, are there any reasons why you might not want to list on lots of OTAs, perhaps to take traffic away from your own site? Well, a lot of this depends on your own business goals. So there are people who run extremely popular tour companies that are not listed on any OTA websites, and either they don't want to expand, or there's a practical reason why they can't expand. For example, permits, where they only have, say, 5,000 permits a year or something like that. Obviously, it's pointless to give away margin and give away commissions to websites to give you bookings when you already were going to book out anyway. So that would be probably the biggest reason. Other than that, I mean, if you're wanting to grow your business, I think you should try everything. It may not work for you, but you should try it. There is a local travel site which is really bad, but he's everywhere. And this is from Anon2131. I know he gets a lot of business, so even though his site is bad, he gets a lot of word of mouth and review business, but he has also been at it a long time. Yeah, so basically, there's so many keys to having a successful tourism business, right? And having a great website is not the only key. Basically, if this guy with a bad website was to improve his website, his business would probably grow. And probably would grow, like in terms of his online bookings, would grow by a lot. But the thing is, when you're having a lot of bookings, you make the mistake sometimes of thinking, oh, I don't need a new website. But maybe a new website could increase your bookings by 10, 20, 30%. And would that be worth it to your business if the website costs $1,000 and $59 a month? You'd think so in most cases. So obviously the key to having a successful tourism business, the core thing is to have a really attractive product, to have an amazing product. And if your product is super amazing, you should be able to get by with, you should be able to survive or even thrive, even if you're not very good at marketing. If you're doing all the marketing steps and your website and your business is still not succeeding, it probably comes down to that core principle. You need to have an amazing, attractive product. Kelsey talks about this in his guiding courses. Amazing guides tend to get great reviews, and it's true. Amazing guides tend to get referrals, which is also true. So if you always need to take the business back to the core, is my value proposition, as in, is the thing that makes me unique actually unique enough? Is the thing that makes me unique too unique as well? Because you get a lot of running tour companies that fail because they're just too unique for a small company. You need to, for a small city, you need to make sure your product is actually attractive to a big enough market, and also, and then follow on with ticking the rest of these boxes. All right, Nomad Tours Quebec says, I'm now trying to add my tour guide business to Google Business. It is not easy in my case because my office is not where I start my tours. Yeah, so basically there's a few things you may need to consider there. Some people use the addresses of other businesses. It's probably worth just Googling around and seeing if you can find other alternatives, such as virtual offices, which is something that Google My Business does not like, by the way. There's a few ways to go around it, but it's worth Googling to see if there are any articles relevant to that topic. And on 3173 says, do you think I should start a blog to get more traffic? And the question is, well, basically a blog can get you more traffic, but the problem with blogging is that you need to have firstly a good strategy, and secondly you need to have commitment to that strategy. So you need to really be quite online marketing savvy. You need to really know what you're doing in terms of SEO. Most blogs in the tour space fail even if they are updated. To really get good results, it's extremely rare to see a local tour operator with a successful blog. And so that's why I'm saying if you don't feel very comfortable with terms like SEO, meta titles, and just general blogging strategy concepts, then you should probably be either learning a lot about that or exploring some of the other strategies that I've talked about. Cool. So back to the topic of Quebec. Obviously, it can be a bit tough to list your business if you run your business from an apartment, because if you run a walking tour business, you're often going to meet up with people where they're at. So it makes it hard to get Google My Business. But like I said, you at least try to find some alternatives. Check out to see if there are other businesses in your city that are using alternatives. If you have a friend who runs a local business in the city center, sometimes that can help. So for example, I've seen this a few times, and don't tell Google I said this, but sometimes you might see someone running a shop, and you'll put, say, suite 2, even though there's no second suite, but like the post office has nowhere else to deliver it. So they come and they go, is this for you guys? And they say yes. That's a pretty dodgy tactic, and at the same time, I wouldn't recommend it. But that kind of demonstrates the extremes to which people go. If you can find some other arrangement, that will be helpful. All right, Delatours Israel says, how do you get your site domain verified? Well, verified on Google My Business when you're not a computer tech specialist. You shouldn't have to be a tech specialist at all to verify. Basically, once you set it up, Google then will either make a phone call to you and you just get a code over the phone, or they'll send you a postcard to your address with a code, and you just go to the address listed on the postcard and you type in the code, and that will verify your business. So they've tried to make it as simple as possible to use. Okay. And on 7326 says, how to get people to book my tour without thinking too much to make up their mind. Well, basically, that depends a lot on the cost of your tour. So obviously, the more your tour costs, the less likely they're going to book quickly. The other thing is about the sense of urgency. Does your website have a sense of urgency? Is there a sense that you sell out quickly? Is it obvious that you're popular? Or do you just have a basic contact form and no sign at all that people should be urgent? And a couple of ways to do this is obviously to put messages up like, hurry tours sell out fast. But if they can see your booking calendar is selling out, that drives urgency. Another thing is just messages on the site as well. Like, hurry, like November, like 2016 season is mostly sold out. You need to get in touch right now in order to reserve your spot, that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's all about urgency in terms of conversions like that. And if they're spending a lot of time thinking about it, there's a good chance there's other issues with your site as well in terms of credibility signals. Like I said, great photos, great reviews, memberships of industry associations, and membership, and also mentions in tourism magazines and stuff like that. If you don't have any of that, it's going to be harder to get people to quickly trust you. Time Travel Tour says, I also have this problem with the address on Google. Because of my office is in a bit of the city, in my home north of Stockholm, but I would like to put it in a more central location, but I just can't put in the city name. Google requires a full address. And yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one to get around. I'm sorry. Kelsey says, I'm telling Google. Oh man, I've gotten myself into trouble once actually. Something I said publicly on the internet. One of those things everyone knew, but you're meant to keep it quiet. I said it publicly, and Google actually got really pissed with me. But yeah, I've been through it before. Martine says, what elements would you put on the front page of your website? Core values, tours, company history, TripAdvisor reviews. And what elements would you incorporate on other booking sites, such as Viator? Okay, so on the front page of your website, firstly, the first key is that people can see exactly what it is you do. That's the key. The second key is that there's a very quick sense of what makes you special. So that can be through the photos, it can be communicated through words, but needs to be some sort of sense that there's something different about your business, that you're not just another business. So could it be in the case that you've had 156,000 guests or 150 guests or whatever the case may be. But But like I said, it should be the case that be seen to be something special. Another thing about the homepage of the website is that you should quickly guide the user to look at your product. So you really don't want people dawdling on a homepage. You want people clicking once they get to the homepage and getting themselves into your website and sort of like getting lost in reading your content. That's really key. All right. So in terms of Viator, obviously you need to make sure this is when it comes to photos, because obviously with Viator there's a limit, but so great photos and also inserting credibility indicators. So you might say, you know, Chicago's #1 walking tour business since 1997. We've been offering, and also like I think in the case of Viator, you should be doing a bit of a tease as well. And I know that Kelsey's talked about this in previous online workshops. Is you don't necessarily want to give it all away in description. So you might say, we'll be visiting the Brooklyn Bridge and you'll discover and I'll tell you all about the hidden plot in 1956 to blow up the Brooklyn Bridge, or, you know, the hidden story, the true actual story behind XYZ, right? You need to imply that there is some kind of special knowledge that you have that cannot be gained elsewhere. And once again, sorry about that really annoying car alarm outside. All right. So, well, in the end, it started out a bit quiet with the questions, but we got going in the end. Everyone, make sure to check out that link. You should see it right there, tourismtiger.com/workshop2. My email is matthew@tourismtiger.com. Make sure to book a call with me if you want to talk about getting a new website. We are getting very busy right now. So if you're thinking about getting a new website, now is the time to do it, because think about it. Everyone is thinking about getting a new website for the 2016 high season, which means we already know that in January and February, we're going to be overwhelmed with interest. So the best way to make sure that your website gets built on time, quickly, and in the way you want it is to literally book a call with me in the next, say, 24, 48 hours. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone so much. It really was a pleasure to do this for you. I hope you enjoyed the presentation and got a lot out of it. And yeah, well, hopefully we'll see you on a future presentation.